So for our next panel session of the day is in partnership with MAN. Our guests will discuss how social enterprise can combat climate change. So without delay, please welcome our speakers, Rabih Chaar, co-founder of Nadeera, Christopher Arida, co-founder of Diwama, and moderated by Al-Hashmi, Incubator at MAN, Incubator Chief at MAN. Do you guys want chairs? Yeah.
Yep, testing. Okay.
Test.
All right. So thank you very much, everyone that is here, for your attendance and for the invite. It's wonderful to be here today. My name is Al-Hashmi. I'm the Incubator Chief at MAN, as you mentioned, which is the Authority of Social Contribution. For any of you that don't know us. A relatively new entity. We've only been established 2 years now, and we report to and operate under the regulatory body, the Department of Community Development. So with that little introduction, I have two founders of distinct startups that have graduated from said incubator program at MAN, and this is a biannual program that runs twice a year, and we attract and look for social enterprises that have a positive impact in the community and the world around. So every time we launch, we select a specific social challenge. And the incubator program that these fine gentlemen were participating in was with regards to the environment. So we had a cohort specific to the environment, and they were part of the 10 teams that were selected. So we have Christopher, who is a co-founder of Diwama, and Rabih, who is co-founder of Nadeera. And let's get straight to it. I'm sure once you speak, you can give them a little brief on your startup. But if you could tell us why the environment, and why do you think social enterprises play a role in addressing this challenge that we all face today?
So they play a very important role in different aspects. Definitely we have the positive social and environmental impact, but there's something else also we need to focus on, which is the economic impact, thus providing this sustainability. I'm going to talk about a little bit of what Diwama does and why we do it. At Diwama, we provide an AI software which automatically tracks and detects waste through a camera and a machine learning algorithm. And why do we do that? To help waste management companies and consumers sort better and increase their recycling. How we do that? By targeting, for example, let's say plastic recycling and waste sorting facilities to improve and optimize their operations through the data that our software collects inside these infrastructure. Another example, what we do is we're currently integrating our AI into the mobile app recap of Veolia Middle East. I think some of you might have heard it. They do door-to-door waste collection in Abu Dhabi. What we're trying to do is help people sort better at home by simply scanning the waste item through their mobile phone, and the AI will tell you if it's recyclable or not. We do that to target the Sdg Goals set by the UN. And to be very specific, we have 4 goals. The Sdg goal number 9, which is about improving the infrastructure and resource efficiency. There's the goal number 11, I guess, which is sustainable cities, by reducing the per capita environmental impact. The SDG goal number 12 for reducing waste generation, which is directly what Diwama does. And finally, definitely the SDG 13, which is climate change, which is the most important goal for all social enterprises, because this is the biggest problem that the world is currently facing.
Yeah, great. Of course, I agree with everything that Christopher has mentioned. Just a bit of context. In the GCC, people recycle less than 5% of the waste that is being generated. And that's a very low number compared to how much our countries like Germany or Switzerland that reach 65%. So we have a big room to improve, and that's what Nadeera does. So similar to Diwama, we are focused on using behavioral change and technology to change people's behaviors and get them to recycle more. We work with communities on doing that in an integrated manner. And when people recycle, we give them incentives and points and discounts in the stores nearby. When people are not recycling, we can tell them specifically that, Mona, you are not recycling because you're putting organic material in a recyclable bag, then you need to do it differently. So that's what Nadeera does. And by doing that, we contribute to many of the SDGs that Christopher have mentioned, particularly for every ton of recyclable material that is diverted from landfills. That's 1 ton of material that doesn't have to be extracted from the ground again, and it goes back into becoming a circular system. And that's 1.3 tons of CO2 avoided because you don't have to extract virgin material. You're using existing material to recycle. So you are both contributing to the climate change and contributing to environmental objectives that are set forth in the countries. The policies in Abu Dhabi and in the UAE are very aggressive on this matter. Abu Dhabi wants to divert 85% of their waste, UAE in general 75%, yet we are very far from these numbers. So this is where innovative solutions such as Diwama and Nadeera are able to come and address this gap and bridge the gap to be able to recycle more. Last thing, if you allow me to say, and that's related to MAN, we're very proud to have been part of the MAN program, because otherwise we wouldn't have been able to be sitting with you here. So we set up initially outside of the UAE, and then MAN attracted us to come work in the UAE. Now we have one community that's recycling with Nadeera. I'm leaving this meeting to go and finalize a deal with another community. And I'm proud to say that we have signed up 3 communities in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia to start recycling with Nadeera. So this wouldn't have been possible unless MAN have opened the doors for us. They gave us a lot of technical support. They gave us a lot of financial support to be able to set up in Abu Dhabi and then be able to serve the region out of Abu Dhabi. And we're very proud of this.
Thank you very much. We're very proud of both of you as well. It's fantastic being part of this movement where the government is heavily investing in innovative solutions in preserving the environment and the social structure of Abu Dhabi as well, which is our mandate at MAN. If I could take it back, because I don't think either of you answered, to what do you think is the impact that social enterprises have on climate action or climate change? Either positively or negatively, but what role do you think social enterprises play as opposed to big conglomerates? Why isn't, for example, Microsoft doing this? Why is it social enterprises and them being the custodians of such a massive responsibility?
If I can jump in
Sure.
on this one, because back to what I was mentioning before, Muna, the impact that we can bring is very high by the diversion of the waste. Yet existing players that are currently collecting waste, they are big dinosaurs. They are not able to move as fast as everybody wants them to move, and they are only focused on waste collection in a traditional sense. Governments, on the other hand, they are putting the right policies, and the governments of the UAE and Abu Dhabi, they have done that. Yet governments, it's not their job to come and get people to recycle. And this is exactly where social enterprises come in, to bridge that gap that doesn't allow big conglomerates to be as nimble. So we are very nimble as social enterprises. At the same time, we are not the government, so we are able to be very quick and agile as such.
And to add to this, I believe that the governments should definitely support startups, but another aspect is what he said, is that corporates, to engage with startups, to help startups and to provide their support to startups through their incubators, accelerators. And one example is what we did with Veolia. It started through their Spark Accelerator. It was because they are very slow, because they are a very big corporation. Definitely they have more money, but they don't have the speed of a startup, and they don't have the innovation of a startup. And the startup doesn't have the money. So by collaborating together, we can find the perfect combination of having the resources to achieve the impact needed and having the experience and the reach of the global players.
Beautifully said. That's exactly what is needed. You know, creating collaborative communities where all these different sectors and players come together. Absolutely. Moving on to the next question. What are some challenges you face trying to tackle climate change and environmental degradation?
I was going to ask you about this because you said about the low recycling rates. If you want to start with that, maybe because we have faced some similar challenges, and I have something else that I would like to highlight also, but definitely I can assume we have similar challenges.
Yeah, sure. So actually, people are ahead of the players. People want to recycle. So if you go and ask people if they want to recycle or not, they want to, but they are sometimes a bit... I'm trying to find the politically correct word, but they're a bit too lazy. They're a bit too lazy to actually
in my opinion,
do the effort.
That's cognitive dissonance, though. Your beliefs don't align with your actions. They believe in environmental protection, 100%. But their actions is actually littering.
Absolutely.
So you have to... people are complex.
So you need to find the right ability to incentivize them and disincentivize them. So incentivize them to recycle and disincentivize them to do so. And that's exactly what Nadeera does, because we track the QR codes on the bags and we're able to know if Mona has sorted or not, and if you do, we give you the rewards. If you don't, we give you a lot of education, and maybe in the future we give you a letter telling you that you should be starting to sort. So that allows you to get from the 10% that are currently recycling to more than 90% of the population to recycle by being able to provide these specific interventions as such. We worked with Dr. Salma Musa with Yale University to design our interventions, and we do it in a very specific manner based on the persona of the people and how we need to intervene with them. So.
Do you have an advertisement video regarding your project? Because it's easier for us to understand the process that your company working in order to imagine the core business of your business.
Yes, 100%. We have tons of material on this and videos to explain how Nadeera works. Happy to share that after the session.
Yes,
go ahead.
I totally agree with that.
I feel like challenges opens the door. Once you ask someone about challenges, they'll talk for an hour.
There are so many for startups.
Go ahead.
Definitely, this is the main challenge for business to consumer, and you have faced it a lot because Diwama did not start with this AI. We started with door-to-door collection in Lebanon as well. And yes, people say they want to recycle, and they claim that they know how to recycle, but once you collect the bag, you realize that maybe 50% or even sometimes more is not recyclable. But for Diwama also, we're facing something else on the business-to-business side, which is that some businesses have a different perspective on what sustainability or what good impact on the climate change is. For example, there are some customers which believe incineration might be the better alternative for waste. There are some articles or some research that prove it might be, but mostly it's the opposite that recycling is. But this is a very controversial topic, which we as Diwama are facing. They see that maybe incineration is getting rid of waste in a very fast way without any complications. You just dump the waste, and in the process, you provide energy. We believe something else, that you are getting rid of not the waste, but of the resource instead of recirculating it into the economy. And once you see this trend of incineration, it's very difficult to penetrate a market once someone is really, for example, a country believes in incineration. It would be very difficult to penetrate such a market where you are selling a product to improve recycling. Because recycling, the biggest value is in plastics. And the biggest value for the incinerator to burn is plastics. So it's like a direct competition between those two.
Yeah,
is that the case here?
No comment. There are some.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. But there are also other players which advise the otherwise.
Right.
So we have both.
Okay.
But mainly, the trend in the Middle East is between recycling and incineration. Balanced trend, if you want.
So basically, just to echo Christopher's point, I think more discussions are required on this topic and more involvement of multiple stakeholders to ensure that it's not a binary solution, right? Incinerators are good for the remaining 15-20% that cannot be recycled. But first, what you need to do is reduce waste and prevent waste from happening. Second is recycle as much as possible, and then anything residual, then you incinerate it or you do waste to energy elements.
Or reuse and repurpose.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. But Muna, I would like to ask you, because I would like to reverse the roles for a bit.
Thank you. Just for everyone's knowledge, I wasn't meant to be moderator, so I'm filling in.
So I would like to see it from your perspective. You've been interacting with a lot of startups in Man. Man has been a super innovative ecosystem, not only as an incubator, but you have a lot of other products. Can you tell us how you've seen startups interacting with fulfilling what the government and the social aspects of Abu Dhabi is happening today, and what are the challenges that you guys faced as well?
It is happening. It is incrementally. So we're moving, and we're moving slowly and surely, steadily. The greatest thing, as you mentioned, about startups is they have that capacity to be innovative. Once you fall into government or big corporations, agility is not on the table. There are processes and approval lines. So we're actually capitalizing on that element for startups. We understand this is how they play and this is their realm, and we're leveraging that. And what happens with the incubator program, as you both know, we connect them with government entities. We connect them with big corporations so that they can benefit from this nature of doing things. And the growth and the progression has been very inspiring. We've come across startups from all stages, from the ideation stage all the way to revenue generating and profit maximizing. You gentlemen fall somewhere in the middle. It's been fantastic to see. The span that I've been at Ma'an, the transition of people's perspective is the best part, the most beautiful part. In the beginning, everyone has hesitation. This startup is my job. It's doing what I do. They don't need to exist. This is what we do. So everyone is competitive and not accepting and open to change. People don't like change and uncertainty, as my colleague mentioned earlier. So getting people changing, shifting their mindsets to actually understand the value add that a startup brings instead of fearing them and being afraid of the competition, that has been the best part of this entire journey, where now I don't have to sell the startup as much as I had to before, where it's understood, we're all in agreement that this has a value add for the community, by the community as well, which is the most important part, which is what we try to do at Man. We really want the people to serve the people. So if you are an aspiring entrepreneur, we call them social entrepreneurs because you're all addressing social challenges and social issues. We highly recommend that you reach out to us and seek out areas where you can participate. Thank you for reverting that question to me. I appreciate it. I will revert one back to you. And I'm not sure if many people are aware, but the UAE is actually, and someone will have to check my stat here, but we are either the third biggest carbon footprint in the whole world. That is not something to be proud of. Either we're in the top 5.
I can speak on waste. And
carbon footprint, not like energy consumption, production.
Absolutely. And waste is a proxy because I know the numbers. So waste, the UAE and the GCC overall is one of the highest, if not the highest in the world on a per capita basis.
Per capita, exactly.
Of waste
yes,
generation.
carbon footprint per capita.
And I'm sure others as well, like energy
Absolutely.
consumption and other matters are as high.
Right.
So any small change in behaviors and how we perceive things that we do on a day-to-day basis will make a big impact. It's not a small impact at all, contributing to the overall commitments that the UAE has done on becoming carbon neutral by 2050, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. In your opinions, how do you think we could attract more of the youth to participate in such endeavors, to become a social or environmental advocate and agent. How do you think that we can, as the UAE, stimulate that kind of interest within the youth or capitalize on their interest? As we all know, they care and these issues at the top of their mind. But how can we actually transition that, as you mentioned, into the behavior that is required?
So a challenge for Diwama was to develop the technology required to be able to reach the positive impact that we need. And to develop this technology, it required a lot of capital. There is something that the EU does, which is allocate billions of dollars per year for grants just specifically for addressing the SDGs. So what is very important for entrepreneurs, especially as social enterprises or social entrepreneurs, is to provide them with the funding opportunities from the government, especially that they can provide also challenges and tenders for startups to apply to, even at the idea stage. Because this is very important, at least to break even. Because especially for startups that address climate change, they're not like those logistics companies or business-to-consumer packaging goods or whatever that can sell in millions and very fast. They can scale very fast. They need time. They might break even in 7 years. They might take even more. Definitely, they will scale eventually, but it will take them more time than any other startups. And this gap of the first beginning years for these startups should be covered at least by the governments, which are the original entity that set the goals for the country.
So supporting startups is definitely one element, and that's something everybody should do more about it. But something very interesting from as well Majlis Sheikh Mohamad bin Zayed and through having access to potential volunteers is pairing youth with social entrepreneurs to advocate for the cause that they're trying to do and get that to maximize the impact by getting the youth to volunteer and be part of initiatives that serve a social cause. So for example, in the case of Nadeera, we have social programs that we go and we tackle a full community. And in that community, we require volunteers to be part of, as a Nadeera champion, to do the door-to-door awareness and make sure they get all the community excited about recycling. So that's a place where youth can play that role, and they can partner with entities like Nadeera to be able to scale the impact. And by doing that, we can short-circuit a lot of the things that take a lot of time. So in Europe, it took them 20 years to recycle at 65% rate. Here, we have the opportunity to use technology and engaging youth to short-circuit that and do it in much faster period of time by having that dual kind of impact as such.
Thank you very much. I think that's all from my end. We will be able to take questions if you have any.
Hello. I'm sorry. I'm sure a lot of you guys have a lot of questions to ask. This has been a very engaging and very relevant sort of thing. A lot of us are future entrepreneurs, and we're very inspired by your ideas. So to start off, we're going to be asking Ms. Mona a question from Chun, if I spelled your name correctly. Right. So he's asking, how do you deal with people, very quickly, that don't really believe in sort of startups that don't believe in climate change? So like, how can they change their outlook? The people that are usually sort of sponsoring or providing grants. Let's say, for example, yours is purely non-profitable, but it's just mainly to combat climate change. How are you able to change their outlook to invest in your startup?
That's a very good question. Today, what you just described and doesn't generate profit, that would be a not-for-profit. That's a not-for-profit entity that does not generate profit. What we're looking at here is social enterprises. And I encourage everyone to do your research and Google, and if you don't know what they are, social enterprises are profit-generating entities that address environmental and social causes. That's the reason why they exist. They want to solve a problem, a societal problem. For example, I'm going to jump the gun and completely change the topic and go for people of determination that have trouble finding employment. That's a social problem. So you, as a social enterprise, you could perhaps maybe open up a coffee shop Normal coffee shop, normal business. However, you only employ people of determination. So you're a normal business, you generate profit. However, why do you exist? Because you want to employ people of determination. So there is a social link there. And without this link, you cannot call yourself a social enterprise. You just become a normal startup. So social enterprises have this balance. They have a social, environmental balance as well as the sustainability element. So they have to be able to configure a revenue generation in their business model. If you cannot do this, then it's not a viable business, right? Then it becomes not for profit. It becomes could be an extracurricular outside of this business remit. So I would advise whoever's interested to do their research, but how to convince someone to believe in climate change when they don't, that is a very complex question. I do not have the answer to that. I'm really sorry. But there's a whole process of mindset change that one person has to go through. No matter what I say, if you are not open, if you don't have a learning or open mindset, nothing will penetrate your stance. So you have to be open to ideas. You have to be curious, and you have to be able to read and understand and go like, okay, this makes sense. I'll raise it before. I know I'm speaking a lot, but back when I was in school, and I believe in climate change, 100%. I used to wear jackets in the winter time, and I used to be like 8 years old, and my mom would pick me up. It was winter, it's December, and I'm waiting for her, and it's cold. It never gets that cold today, right? Yeah. Does it ever get that cold for anyone? No. It's mild, it's all right. But when back in the 90s, we used to get cold weather, colder than today, at least 2 degrees, if not 3. So this is evidence of, and we don't have to just look here. We can look around the world, and they are suffering. There are countries that will be obliterated, and there are already islands that have disappeared off the face of the planet.
Melting ice caps as well.
Melting ice caps, but there are islanders that completely don't exist anymore.
Sure.
So it's one's openness to acceptance of such ideas.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, 2 gentlemen, Ms. Mona as well. We have a lot of questions, but due to time, we're not going to be able to take any of them, unfortunately. So is it possible if you could share like social media or some more insights about your projects, as well as an email from Ms. Mona, so they can contact her?
Yeah, sure. And if somebody's just listening, you can follow Nadeera Tech on our social media platforms, whether Instagram or any other, and send us a direct message and we'll reply to you. So Nadeera, Nadeeratech, Tech. Thank you.
Interesting.
Yeah, to advertise myself as well.
Go for it.
So it's Diwama, Diwama. Sometimes it's _AI or additional AI, but I guess you can find us everywhere on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, just by searching Diwama. It's digital waste management, Diwama.
And you can find me on Ma'an Abu Dhabi. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.